Hello, everyone, and welcome to Gaming with Shadow Ramza. I'm your host, Shadow Ramza the Alp, and today we are playing Stanley Parable 2. That was what the game told me last time. I mean, that's part 2. We played it before. I don't think there's an actual plot or end, but I had a lot of fun last time, and we're not giving up on Mega Man. We're not giving up on Hollow Knight. Um, we don't have a stream schedule in the morning, so I just play whatever tickles my fancy. Yeah, pretty excited though. I thought the game was hilarious the first time. I gotta remember all the stuff I did do, so I don't do it again, but who knows? Maybe there'll be different dialogue because we fell for it before. It seems like, I'll be honest, it seems like this game was designed with the sole purpose of, like, not training AI, but like precursor to that. Teaching computers how to think. If player A does task B, then objective C must become active, sort of stuff. Like it's testing logic. And apparently, I'm supposed to hang on. I'm also supposed to press X, but we'll do that when we're done sending out the shares. Let's get started. Loading. Alright, here we go. It's so quiet. I always get unnerved when there's no sound playing. Let's play the Stanley Parable. Air quotes. 2. It's the only time I'm going to put that on there. Alright, that's the first account. Still holding. Hi, welcome. We're sending out the shares right now, sending out our notifications. How's it going? The headphones can hear the bird outside. I guess that makes sense. I could hear the bird. Okay, last one. That was Blue Sky, now Threads. And music. I forgot I don't actually wear the headphone in my ear. Wow, that was loud. Alright. So, hang on. Let's see. Before we get started, can I just say something? Sure. Thank you for actually setting the clock both times you booted up the game. Oh, you're welcome. A lot of people don't take that step seriously. They just leave the clock set at 12 and call it a day. Neat. I almost did. But you're actually taking the time to set the clock, and I appreciate that. Well, thank you. That's how I know that you care about this experience. You're paying attention. No, I'm just very adept at following instructions. I don't even have any way of knowing if the times you're setting are correct. Actually, I'm fairly, 98% sure you would, because the PlayStation that you're operating on has an internal clock as well. Plus, you're attached to the internet, which would also give you access to a clock because you would probably, because of my IP address, know where I'm located. So there's a lot of holes in that one. Tell you what, I'll make you a deal. Ooh, deal. Since you've been so cooperative, next time you put up the game and see the screen, just set the clock to your favorite time. My favorite time. Oh, interesting. Go ahead, pick whichever time you want. Even if it's not the correct time, you've earned it. Alright, I'll let you get back to the video game now. Thank you. Oh good, the lie is still up there. Alright, let's learn silly plot. Oh. It's never the end.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427.
427.
Employee number 427's job
427.
He sat at his desk in room 427
427.
and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month
427.
of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job.
Neat.
Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget.
What happened?
He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say
meeting?
Never in all his years at the company had this happened. This complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid.
Did I show up for work on my day off again?
Unable to move for the longest time.
I've done that twice.
But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of the office.
Welcome back. Oh. I got an achievement. I don't know why I'm fighting with the celery. I know I can't chew through them. I have nothing but fish hooks for teeth. If you ever see my teeth, they're all, they're not flat, they're, barbed. My teeth are barbed, even though they got filed. Nothing.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go
No
to the
idea.
meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Oh, right, I'm supposed to look for my coworkers. I just want to make sure we're not wasting electricity. The bucket.
Warmth spread through Stanley's arms. With the bucket in his arms again, he was home.
The bucket. The bucket will keep me... Turn off that computer. there's a door. No DLC stuff.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
You know what? I gave you a hard time last time. Let's do it. Left.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room. Stanley had
I talked myself out of it that fast.
Telling him that the
I blame the bucket.
lounge was simply the place to be.
Yeah, the bucket told me that. I don't know why I'm so disobedient. I like being paid to
and
do.
Here it was.
There's a
the
book.
bucket turned out to be correct. Was this better than the meeting room? Yes, Stanley
Yes.
thought to himself. Yes, perhaps it truly was.
It truly
How
is.
insightful the bucket turned out to be.
Very insightful. Huh?
Truly, being here with the bucket was a grand
Fuel.
adventure. Stanley reflected on all they'd been through together. First, walking through the door on the right. Then walking to the lounge. Then arriving at the lounge. What a thrilling journey the bucket had inspired.
It really did.
Perhaps this was where the bucket felt most truly at home. Here in the employee lounge.
Yeah, we're
Perhaps
on the
it's only
chairs.
us a bucket can even feel at home. Stanley decided to just give the bucket absolutely as much time as it needed to be in the lounge.
Yeah, it
Claiming
needs
the
to
bucket and the
decompress.
employee lounge shared a special connection.
Very special.
But
Okay.
finally, the bucket was done being in the lounge, and
Yeah.
they took the first open door on their left to get back to business. And so the two of them detoured through the maintenance section and walked straight ahead to the opposite door.
What's this? Fighting. I knew it went down, but it still startled me.
Oh, good Stanley, I'm glad you found your way here. I knew
yeah?
you'd find this place eventually.
Oh no! I'm scared of mannequins.
You see, your friends and I are concerned for you, Stanley. We've come together here because we care about you very much. It's this bucket you're
Don't
carrying
tell
around
Est.
everywhere. The bucket
my
isn't
bucket!
even from the original Stanley Parable. It's just
But it's
sequel
mine.
content. We're the ones that matter, Stanley. Classic characters from the first game, like the Adventure Line and the Broom Closet. Because that's what fans want from a sequel. They want more of their favorite jokes, not this bucket that they've never seen before.
I haven't seen any of these other things.
Bucket, but you're spending too much time with it.
What?
Don't you want another story involving the Adventure Line?
I haven't met the Adventure Line.
Somewhere new. Yes, yes, that's what the fans want. Let's do it.
I haven't met any of you guys. Well, except for the pencil sharpener. I met the pencil sharpener. Whose baby is that? Ugh. Hi, office chair. I'm sorry, I met you too. I met the office chair. Huh. Why'd I put myself in the closet? It was nice to have met you. The bucket and I don't like you. Computer? Lady? Fire? Office plants! Oh, there's a fence. I can't see.
Whee!
Yeah.
Look at that wacky line. Who knows where it'll go off to next? Oh, and it played some silly music as well.
It did?
Now this is what the Stanley Parable is all about. Don't you remember all those great jokes from the original dialogue?
Also, Stanley is addicted to drugs and hookers.
What?
Yes, it's as classic now as it was back then. Let's do it for the fans, Stanley. Let's give them more content exactly like this. But if we want to do that, you're going to have to give something up.
First of all, I still haven't met this adventure line before. And two, no, it's my bucket. It's my bucket. Oh, the music stopped. No more dancing. Yeah. There is a limit on how far down I like to walk. That's scary.
Don't you get it, Stanley?
No.
We need to get rid of the bucket.
No!
That's why I'm very proud to introduce a brand new character. This is the Bucket Destroyer.
Whoa!
I think it'll make a wonderful new addition to the rich lore of the Stanley Parable. True, it also was not in the original game, but it's such a well-fleshed-out character with so much personality that to me it already feels as though it's been part of the cast all along. Don't you agree? Can you guess what the Bucket Destroyer does? Surely you don't need
Does
me
it
to
make
spell
coffee?
it out for you. Go ahead now, Stanley. Say goodbye to the bucket, and then pop it into the machine when you're ready. Now listen to me. It's crucial that you give it the bucket. I don't know what the Bucket Destroyer will do if it can't destroy your bucket. Destroying buckets is all it knows. That is its singular personality trait. Sure, I can hear you saying, how does a character with only one personality trait deserve to join the pantheon of beloved Stanley Parable characters? Well, you see, if you were to really explore the Bucket Destroyer, you would see that its desire to crush buckets is so densely loaded with complexity and nuance that it's really like 10 personality traits. What other object in this game can you even say that about? The broom closet? Certainly not. I wonder what sort of Bucket Destroyer merchandise the fans will be clamoring for after this.
Are you guys clamoring for Bucket Destroyer?
Getting very upset now.
No, it's my bucket.
We can't get back to the classic Stanley Parable characters like the Adventure Line or the Bucket Destroyer until you crush that damn bucket. Quickly now, the fans are waiting. Do it, the fans, Stanley. Give the fans
it's my
what they want.
bucket.
Hurry and
Look! I broke it. Bucket Destroyer. I sent it to heaven.
Destroyer, my prized creation. You had so much potential. We were going to do such marvelous things with you, tell such spellbinding stories about you. All of it squandered now. Goodbye, new friend. For the moment in time that you were here, you were magnificent.
10 out of 10. Bucket Destroyer was a cool person. I'm glad I killed it. Nothing? Nothing?
All of his co-workers were gone.
Nothing.
What could it mean? Stanley
I have
decided to
no
go to the
idea.
meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
I'm not looking for my co-workers. I'm looking for the bucket.
Stanley picked up the bucket and smiled. He'd never be alone again, not truly alone, not with the bucket around.
Mm-hmm. Not without the creepy disembodied voice that constantly narrates things to me. Oh, neat. Input received. Still broken.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
I sure did.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley
And
had
I
felt
knew
the
it.
bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be.
Doors. One day one of these doors is going to open.
Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Well,
No.
Never mind. The bucket was wrong.
It sure
Stanley
was.
took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room. And so the two of them detoured through the maintenance section and walked straight ahead to the opposite door.
What happens if I go down here again? You gonna try again? Do you have a 2.0 for my bucket?
Oh, good, Stanley. I'm glad you found your way here. I
Okay.
knew you'd find this place eventually.
Okay.
You see, your friends and I are concerned for you, Stanley. We've come together here because we care about you very much. It's this bucket you're carrying around everywhere. The bucket isn't even from the original Stanley Parable. It's just sequel content. We're the ones that matter, Stanley. Classic characters from the first game, like the Adventure Line and the Broom Closet. Because that's what fans want from a sequel. They want more of their favorite jokes, not this bucket that they've never seen before. Yes, I know I'm the one who gave you the bucket, but you're spending too much time with it. Don't you want another story involving the Adventure Line? We could make the Adventure Line go somewhere new. Yes, yes, that's what the... Whee! Look at that wacky line. Who knows where it'll go off to next? Oh, and it played some silly music as well. Now this is what the Stanley Parable is all about. Don't you remember all those great jokes from the original dialogue?
Also, Stanley is addicted to drugs and hookers.
Yes, it's as classic now as it was back then. Let's do it for the fans, Stanley. Let's give them more content exactly like this. But if we want to do that, you're going to have to give something. Don't you get it, Stanley? We need to get rid of the bucket. That's why I'm very proud to introduce a brand new character. This is the Bucket Destroyer. I think it'll make a wonderful new addition to the rich lore of the Stanley Parable. True, it also was not in the original game, but it's such a well-fleshed-out character with so much personality that to me, it already feels as though it's been part of the cast all along. Don't you agree?
Bucket, I believe in you. Destroy the Bucket Destroyer.
Can you guess what the Bucket Destroyer does?
No idea.
Sure, you don't need me to spell it out for you. Go ahead now, Stanley. Say goodbye to the bucket, and then pop it into the machine when you're ready. Now listen to me. It's crucial that you give it the bucket. I don't know what the Bucket Destroyer will do if it can't destroy your bucket. Destroying buckets is all it knows. That is its singular personality trait. Sure, I can hear you saying, how does a character with only one personality trait deserve to join the pantheon of beloved Stanley Parable characters? Well, you see, if you were to really explore the bucket destroyer, you would see that its desire to crush buckets is so densely
I think
loaded
Stanley's
with
on my
complexity
side.
and nuance that it's really like 10 personality traits. What other object in this game can you even say that about? The broom closet? Certainly not. I wonder what sort of bucket destroyer merchandise the fans will be clamoring for after this. Okay, the bucket destroyer is getting very upset now. You'll have to hurry and feed it. We can't get back to the classic Stanley Parable characters like the Adventure Line or the bucket destroyer until you crush that damn bucket. Quickly
I tried.
now, the fans are waiting. Do it, the fans, Stanley. Give
I
the
tried. They
fans
didn't let
what
me.
they want. Hurry and
Too bright. I tried. Sorry, Bucket Destroyer. I tried.
Our prized creation. You had so much potential. We were going to do such marvelous things with you, tell such spellbinding stories about you. All of it squandered now.
Sorry, I
Goodbye,
squandered
new
it.
friend. For the moment in time that you were here, you were magnificent.
Yeah. Sorry. I blew him up twice. Accidentally murdered him twice.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Huh? I did it!
At first, Stanley assumed he'd broken the map
I
until he
did.
heard this narration and realized it was part of the game's design all along. He then praised the game for its insightful and witty commentary into the
Bravo!
nature of video game structure and its examination of structural narrative tropes. So, now that you're
I
here, what do
broke
you
it.
think? Isn't this a fun and unique place to be? Why
Yeah.
don't we take a minute just to drink it all in? Okay, I'm over it now. What do you
Yeah.
think? Are you sick of this gag yet? Ah, then in that case we'll continue. But now, here comes the real question. What do you think would have happened if you had told me that you wanted this to stop? Do you think it would have been particularly different? Would I have taken the same idea but rephrased it superficially to fit that answer? Perhaps you never would even have thought of it if I hadn't brought up the issue in the first place. Oh, now think about it. Will it be worth it for you to restart and then come back here just to do the other option? Clearly, this whole gag takes some time. What if the other option is even longer? How long will you spend in total just to have heard all the narration? Oh, and this is Rich.
You have no
Perhaps you
idea
just
how
played the
crazy I
narration,
am.
And now you've come to see what happens in this one.
Uh-huh.
So, what do you think? Which choice was the better one? Imagine if you had selected continue on your first playthrough, how tantalizing it would be not knowing what happens when you pick the other option. Indeed, you are one of the lucky ones. Though if the other option is really miserable to listen to, then perhaps you're not. In fact,
Perhaps.
I'm just going to say that no one who's listening to this is lucky.
I am.
I've built up the other options so much that I'm going to stop talking and leave you to your decision whether to come back here, continue with the game, or just sit in this spot forever and ever. Cheers.
Cheers. Ah, the textures are actually buttons. You can collide with yes and no. Cool. It's still pretty flat on the wall though, but they have hitboxes. No. Did I fall? No, I got dizzy. I think I'm trapped. And now I'm dizzy. There's a wall. Okay, there we are. I think I broke it. I think I broke it. Hey.
All of his co-workers were gone.
Let's do it again.
What could it mean?
No
Stanley
idea.
decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his
I'm back.
co-workers.
I'm back.
At first, Stanley assumed he'd broken the map until he heard this narration and realized it was part of the game's design all along. He then praised the game for its insightful and witty commentary into the nature of video game structure and its examination of structural narrative tropes. So, now that you're here, what do you think? Isn't this a fun and unique place to be? Why don't we take a minute just to drink it all in? Okay,
drink it in, chat.
Now, what do you think? Are you sick of this gag yet?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know how to say this politely, but you could literally just restart the game any old time you want, like right now. You could have done it just then. Now would also be an appropriate time to quit.
Oh.
These points and so many, many more, all of them are appropriate.
Oh.
I'm enjoying what seems to be an internal conflict going on where you are literally unable to act on your own desires to restart the game. So, just to push the envelope, I'm going to try and make this as miserable as possible and see how long you can maintain. There once was a man named Stanley, who people considered so manly. But the truth must be told, he was not very old and was quite particularly gangly. What Stanley liked most was buttons. He pushed them like some kind of glutton. He did it all day in a meaningful way. But his brain had long ceased to function. Which is why he is in this parable and lives an existence quite terrible. And if you are not strong and keep playing along, you too will become quite unbearable.
I'm already quite unbearable. Yes.
You too will become quite unbearable.
I'm already unbearable. I don't think I've done the actual story you've tried to offer me this whole time. This option was better. I don't think they realized that the music actually made this hellscape a lot more bearable. So now I don't feel so trapped in the eternal ether of the window and the wall. Because, yeah, I'm only trapped in that space between the window and the wall. I like this guitar, though. Oh, Wait, did I win? I win. I am quite unbearable. I win. I broke the music. It's okay, I brought my own. Alright, I won.
A soft wind blew outside and perhaps rain started, and if it did, it stopped shortly after. Stanley hoped that he would one day see weather.
I am a ghost now. Woo! I'm in the walls. Okay. My bucket.
The good old bucket. Just Stanley and the bucket, off on another thrilling adventure together.
Drilling. Okay. My tooth is...
Stanley clicked on literally every single door in the office
And?
because he doesn't pick up well on cues from his environment.
No. I have a bucket though. And I destroyed the bucket to show her twice, so
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his knee. This was not the correct way to the meeting room. Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this
no?
Never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room. And so the two of them detoured through the maintenance section and walked straight ahead to the opposite door. Still no one was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps his boss's office was where he'd find answers.
This book is too small. This all sounds like business and I don't understand. Whose friends and what happened to them? Reflect. That's the one that gets me. What was my number again? I don't think I'm on the schedule. Wait, someone moved the desks? Did they censor this? Not cost efficient. The future was yesterday? Man, I've been doing that wrong. Using slides to assure employees that everything is okay. Make sure your slide has a slick... I don't read fast enough. Everyone is unique. Me, most of all. I am. Number of slides on this slide? It's mostly charts. A bit of slides and charts, though. But also a bit of slides. Rate at which charts on the same slide depict the same information. Rates of increase in graphs per slide. Please, no more charts. Please, I'm begging. The Boss Appreciation Minute. On your Boss Appreciation Minute worksheet, circle the top 20 things you love most about your boss. Fill out... Oh. I give up. I can't read fast enough. Oops.
Oh, Stanley, can you feel it? The broom closet. It wants the bucket. You can feel that, can't you? The aura of jealousy? It's as clear as day. This broom closet believes it deserves the bucket.
What?
I can really feel it now. It's a bucket. It belongs in a broom closet. That's what the broom closet is trying to say here. It's supposed to go with the other cleaning supplies.
But it's my bucket.
Please, Stanley, don't give in. Don't hand over the bucket. I know how hard it must be, given the pressure that the broom closet is putting on your shoulders right now, but you have to be strong.
Are you trying to reverse psychology me?
This is your companion and lifelong friend.
It is.
You can't hand it over. Oh, no. We're getting into name-calling now, it seems. Is this how low the broom closet has sunk, that it has to resort to this stream of petty insults simply in order to get you to hand over the bucket? Stanley,
how dare you?
I never liked this broom closet for a variety of reasons, but even this is worse than I had imagined.
No.
Now the broom closet has the gall to imply that you and the bucket are not truly deep and lasting friends?
What?
That your relationship is purely superficial and convenient? That your life
Even
is
if it
so
is.
banal and meaningless that you'd feel the same sort of kinship towards any inanimate object which happened to lay in your path in an even partially enticing manner? Well, I never...
Even if it was.
Go on, Stanley. Lay into it. Really tell the broom closet off for its demeaning comments. Expand on the wide variety of experiences you and the bucket have shared together. Go through each of them point by point.
I have forgotten to ask my bucket its name.
The landscape of your feelings for the bucket, as they have changed and evolved over the years. Let him have it.
You're a meanie. That's all I got. Me and my...
I've got you something which I think will help settle this debate once and for all. Here we go. There. Now it's settled. No more debate, no more discussion. Take a hike, broom closet, with all your meandering philosophical diatribes about the nature of cleaning supplies and their relationship to broom closets in the natural order of things. All right, I've got a second sticker back here, and I'm going to slap it on as well because I think it's appropriate. You see? I feel that it works because the sticker is also a bucket.
Bucket
That
sticker.
way, if you're ever unsure whether the thing you're holding is a bucket or not, you can look down at this sticker and say to yourself, ah, it's a bucket.
It's a
There really
sticker.
is a wide variety of applications for this sticker. You know what? I could take the name-calling and the dismissal of your kinship with the bucket, but now the broom closet is just giving us the silent treatment. And to be honest, I'm sick of the pettiness on display. You can stay here all you like, but I've had it with this impetulant room of cleaning supplies. Easily the most childish such room I've ever been in. I'll see you outside, and we can get on with the story about you and your bucket.
I'm so confused. Are we good? Are you good?
Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
Do what again?
You found one of them. One of the miniature Stanley figurines. Remember, no reward for collecting all of these, only the intrinsic pleasure of a job well done. You can't buy that sort of happiness, Stanley. God knows I've tried. So, I implore you to
We found
savor
the second one.
moment you come across one of these
Stanley looks miserable.
figurines.
We got one. Oh, a car.
Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fined for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think
because
he was
you told me to.
And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy.
You don't say, disembodied voice.
Am I crazy? He asked the bucket.
Am I, Bucket?
Returned his gaze, but said nothing at all.
You're a real helpful, Bucket.
Usually the bucket is a source of guidance and wisdom for me in difficult times such as these. He held the bucket close, yet felt none of its familiar reassurance and comfort. And that's when Stanley realized, this isn't my bucket. It's just a normal, everyday bucket. Someone else's bucket, perhaps. How did I end up with someone else's bucket? This is all terribly wrong. Surely no good would come from this. Who knows what sorts of bizarre hallucinations Stanley might experience without the psychologically grounding presence of his bucket.
My bucket!
Now he noticed that the rooms were repeating, which was, of course, very odd. And now he felt himself floating off the ground.
What?
Oh, gracious, he exclaimed. Without my bucket, I've gone truly mad. Where is it? I must find it. Far off in the distance now, he heard it, calling to him.
Bucket, where?
Stanley! Stanley, it's me, the bucket.
Could it truly be? He rushed forward from room to room, passing by one bucket after the next. None of them were his. None of them were his special bucket.
Come to me, Stanley. Find me.
Oh, you're not kidding.
He had to return to his old friend. It was the only way to truly restore his sanity. And then suddenly, he froze dead in his tracks. He knew where the voice of the bucket had been coming from. The real bucket was inside of him all along. It was incredibly painful. Stanley doubled over in agony and blacked out.
I'm so confused.
This is the story of a woman named Mariella.
Yay!
Mariella woke up on a day like any other.
I killed Stanley.
Got dressed, picked up her bucket of comfort and security, and walked to her place of work.
Thank you.
But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town, talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. Right away, she knew what the problem was. This man had no bucket. Of course he'd gone mad, ranting and raving about a narrator describing all of his actions and how everything is predetermined and free will is an illusion and it's all just a video game. It could all have been prevented if only he'd taken his bucket with him. Perhaps he didn't even realize he'd forgotten his bucket at home in the first place. How cruel the world can be, Mariella thought, and she hugged her own bucket even tighter. But of course, she had no time for this. There were a myriad of confusing problems she would soon have to confront at work, for which her bucket would provide absolute guidance and total clarity on everything. Heck yes, she thought to herself. My life kicks ass. And she backflipped all the way to work.
What? She's so cool. I'm so confused.
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room to check.
What happened to Mariella?
He never functioned well by himself and constantly needed support and guidance from others.
Hey, so don't call me out. The stream is watching.
Was terrifying to him.
Stop calling me out. The stream can hear you.
Stanley went around touching every little thing in the office, but it didn't make a single difference, nor did it advance the story in any way.
You don't know that. Bucket.
Where are we going today? The bucket asked. Stanley just smiled. Anywhere they went together would be perfectly fine with him.
That screen was different.
Stanley clung the bucket to his cheek.
Mm-hmm.
Could his co-workers really all be gone?
Maybe. We'll have to keep looking around. Door. Stickers! We've upgraded our bucket.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct?
No.
Never mind. The bucket was wrong.
Totally
Stanley took
wrong.
the door on his left to go back to the meeting room. And so the two of them detoured through the maintenance section and walked straight ahead to the opposite door.
Keep trying to open doors. Alright, How? Bottom text. What we know. A small floating object has appeared across the office. We have to synergize your resources to ensure their retrieval. There are many questions. There was no memo for him. Agenda, how can you tell you spotted one? What makes them float in the air? Who took these pictures of them? Ooh, good question. Follow clues provided by employee 416. We can do it. Red room? Thank you. Good luck. Okay. Really? I might have to find it. Where are they? Please do not leave the office before reporting back on any new findings. Teamwork and communication are of great importance during this unprecedented time of investigation. Thank you. Now, apparently slow. Maybe we are the collectibles. To whom it may concern. I managed to pick up sounds unusual to our regular office ambience, or local audio sources using an array of cardioid microphones, also known as directional mic, a microphone which picks up sound from a particular area. Analysis of the recording allowed me to triangulate the source of the strange noise. Data shows that, in all likelihood, it's coming from a dark area behind a very warm place. Also picked up what looks like reverberance of a porcelain surface. Anyone have any idea about this? Any leads on this? I would like to know. People are mean in this office. A lot of stuff on it. Hi, welcome. I didn't even see this. This is blood. Trust the completionist instinct. I don't think I want to. Why wouldn't they just tell us something will happen? This investigation, this room, they feel pointless, to be honest. Everything has a point, and nothing means anything. We need more planks. Okay. Produce one plank to allow ease of access past fence. Construct bridge to allow collection of shiny float. Retrieve Chris's remains from warehouse floor. Construct new structurally sound bridge. Interesting. A large room, lots of boxes. That's the warehouse back there. Some are both red and blue. I haven't seen a place that's red and blue. Nearby a fireplace and a private but smelly place for an important person. There is no point, and guess this is a game. Joke's on them, I didn't have one to begin with. Oh, I'm 427. Five there be, just take it from me. Gotta collect them all. I got my bucket to keep them in. There will be a reward. Nice. For finding them all. Who are you? Ooh, the devil. There will be cleaning of this wall required. I want to go home. I want them so much. Stop kidding yourselves. This room creeps me out. The broom closet.
Stanley, we must move on from this broom closet, simply because I have no remaining stickers. If I did, you can guarantee we'd be in here for hours. But alas, no stickers.
No stickers? One more sticker. Just one. I just want one. Fine.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
Ooh, red.
Another miniature Stanley figurine. This, you know, there really must be a snappier name for these things. What about mini-stands? Stanley figures.
Nice.
What about Stanlerines? Yes, I think I like
Ooh,
that.
Stanlerines.
Another Stanlerine under your belt.
Yay. I shouldn't be keeping them under my belt, though. They're poking things. To be rich, is it a crime? To commit crimes, isn't it rich? What a life it would be to have to pick just one. Wash your hands. Wash your hands. You just touched a toilet figurine. Oh. Input received. What the? Is this how we make our money? We shoot pandas in the face? No wonder we have so many buckets. We gotta be cleaning up a lot of mess if we're shooting pandas in the face. Go down? Okay. Down. Wow. You're just saying the name. That's a lot of elevator. like a dance. Yeah, I'm dizzy. Blah. I am very dizzy now. Yeah. Nope, my head's still spinning. This reminds me of how I got locked outside. I had a horrible epiphany. The controller is vibrating still. So that was an epiphany just now. Yeah, I kind of figured that much. I wonder what happens if I do it again. Just picks up right back where I left off. I noticed it while I was doing the dance that this was interactable. I got dizzy in that room.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this revelation, Stanley may have broken down into an emotional dumpster fire if not for the soothing presence of the bucket. Even now, in his darkest of hours, did the bucket's warmth and guiding light pierce the dark clouds of confusion and chaos. It would be with him always. The bucket would. And he knew it. The two of them were inseparable. At this point, Stanley was so absorbed in the tender spiritual connection he shared with the bucket that he didn't notice the keypad behind the boss's desk.
I saw it.
Nor in his bliss of simply being near the bucket did he have any notion that the PIN number for the keypad was 2845. Stanley just sat around twiddling his thumbs.
Oh, sorry.
To put anything on the device was useless, since he could never possibly know that the combination was 2845.
Okay, fine. 2, 8, 4.
2845.
I heard you! There.
But
Self-destruction
Stanley guessed the correct
active.
code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation.
Totally. Secret Labs. I know, right? He's so bossy.
Okay, I'm going back to the name of these little Stanley figurines, and now I'm torn between Stanlerines and Figlies. What do you think, Stanley? What name better
Figlies.
encapsulates the intrinsic sense of happiness that you get from seeing a small number in the corner of your screen go up by 1? Let me sit on it.
They're figgly little things, aren't they? Ooh, red. There was a trap!
The elevator raced downward, plummeting towards an unknown fate. It would be all Stanley could do to keep himself together, if not for the bucket. Soothing him, comforting him, reassuring that in this darkest moment of uncertainty, he would be all right. The bucket is here for you, Stanley. Everything will be fine.
This is why I struggle with celery. My sharp teeth.
Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read, Mind Control Facility.
Bring it on. I don't have a brain to control. Hey, where's my bucket? Oh, there's my bucket.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley and the bucket both wondered to themselves.
Oh, that was a fire truck. That was a real life fire truck. I live by a fire station, and whoa.
And Stanley nearly dropped the bucket in shock. Everyone in the office was being videotaped, monitored like guinea pigs. The bucket had never seen anything like this, and it very nearly...
I never saw anything like this either.
Cradled it gently,
I live by a
reassuring it
firehouse
that
and the
everything
police
would be
department.
fine.
It's okay, bucket. We got this. This has to be illegal, right? They can't record all of us.
Was the bucket under the mind control facility's influence as well? Had the bucket been told
Impossible.
to do things it didn't wish to do? What kinds of things does a bucket want to do or not want to do in the first place?
No,
These questions
I'll protect you,
raced
Bucket.
furiously in Stanley's feeble mind.
No, Bucket's innocent. I can't possibly believe that Bucket could ever hurt anybody.
No! He screamed into the bucket. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control. Never! He
Never.
squeezed the bucket tighter. His one friend in the entire world.
Oh, I should have
At
looked.
this point, he could trust no one except for the bucket.
That would have been smart.
But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he and the bucket would dismantle the controls for good. Two best friends, Stanley and the bucket, up against the world. They high-fived in a really cool way, and the bucket made a sassy comment about taking down the system.
You got it, Corn. Ooh, ooh, big red button. No? Yeah, we'll see if we can find our way back in there. I want to go look now. Ooh. How do I enable it, though? Ooh, 2. 1, 2. Are there more? 3. 5. Where's 4? Where are they hiding 4? Okay, thank you for stopping by. I hope you had a good time. That's 5. Where's 4? Mm-hmm. 1 and 2. Three. Where is 4? 1, 2. 3. Hmm. Hmm.
When at last they came to the source of the room's power, Stanley and the bucket knew it was their obligation to put an end to this horrible place and to everything it stood for. But at the last second, the bucket jumped in and pressed the button to turn on the controls. Stanley
Bucket!
gasped in horror. Had this been the bucket's plan all along? To take over the machine and claim the power for itself? How could the bucket have betrayed him like this? Stanley was prepared to throw the bucket away in disgust when suddenly an image appeared upon the enormous screen. Birds. Silly, silly birds. The control buttons became active again.
Parrots!
Stanley flipped through one video of silly birds after another, and then it dawned on him. This wasn't a mind control facility at all. It was a facility for monitoring and surveilling silly birds all over the world. The
Good
mind
job,
controls
Bucket.
were only a facade to disguise its true intentions. Had the bucket known this all along?
I believed in you the whole
marveled at
time,
the little
Bucket.
genius in his hands, the one who had pointed him towards this incredible discovery. Stanley and the bucket never found freedom because they spent the rest of their lives here in this place, flipping through live streams of the silliest birds
I think so
imaginable.
too.
Of all the possible paths his life could have taken, this one was surely the best. And Stanley was happy.
Penguins! Evil, evil penguins. I did it.
Someone was following Stanley. He was sure of it. If he checked over his shoulder now, he would surely catch them. It was only a matter of time.
Ah! Gonna jump out of a window again. Bucket.
A good bucket, a strong bucket, a humble bucket, a committed bucket, a bucket of culture and distinction. Stanley clicked on literally every single door in the office because he doesn't pick up well on cues from his environment.
Don't judge me.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket
Here it
turned out
is.
to be correct? Well,
No.
Never mind. The bucket was wrong.
It sure
Stanley
was.
took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No,
Said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Go there. Go to the cargo lift.
You're getting close now, Stanley. You've nearly got all of the Figler and Marines. Very soon, you'll
Figler and Marines?
And then the first number will equal the second number, and that will be it. We'll be different people by then. Different in the sense that we used to have none of them. And now
so true.
We have them all.
We're so close.
Back to when you had no Figler and Marines. None of us can. But Stanley feared that any path he walked might lead to the separation of himself and the bucket, his dearest friend. So he threw himself to his death.
I thought the boxes would buffer my fall.
How deeply touching.
Ooh.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Figure Finders Committee.
Ah, the embrace of an old friend. A weathered companionship that stands the test of time. Stanley clicked on literally every single door in the office because he doesn't pick up well on cues from his environment.
No, I don't. Uh-oh. I broke the paradox. I broke the paradox, guys. Chat, something's happening. I'm in a different world.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was there...
No.
Never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No,
said the bucket.
Don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Go there. Go to the cargo lift.
Whoa! Dialogue. Dialogue. I found the tape recorders. Uh-oh.
Okay, this is day number 295. Tape number... I don't even know. I've lost track.
Oh no.
Nothing feels real anymore.
That's not good.
The longer I study this bucket, the less sense anything makes. The sheer euphoria I feel every time I pick it up.
Uh-huh.
No matter how many times I've done it, it's always the same feeling. And the emptiness in my chest when I set it down. It doesn't make sense.
It makes sense.
There's no explanation for it.
It's a good bucket.
I still haven't figured out why I see the world so differently when this bucket is in my arms. Why, everything
Because the
feels
bucket's
so...
awesome. I'm Team Bucket.
What do I do with this treasure?
Hoard it. Keep it for yourself.
I can monetize it.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It's unthinkable the amounts of money people will pay for even just an hour with the bucket.
Mm-hmm.
This is my golden ticket. But I have to be careful, because as soon as this gets out, there's going to be a target on my back. Even now, I don't know who might be trying to get me. What's that? Who's
The bucket's trying to escape. Quick, stop the bucket. Whoa. The bucket has enemies. What? The bucket ending.
Even now, Stanley's office was a distant memory. What did it look like? There was a computer, perhaps, and a painting. Was it a painting or a photo? He could no longer recall. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Bucket.
The bucket made Stanley want to be a better man and a better co-worker. In time, perhaps, he would become both of those things.
If I'm any indication, I doubt it.
Stanley clicked on literally every single door in the office.
You never
he doesn't
know.
pick up well on cues from his environment.
You never know. Maybe someday the door will open.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this better than... No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
Well, how is your head go back? Let's go back one more time.
No,
Said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Go there. Go to the cargo lift.
There's a door down there. Oh, don't fall. The last time I fell down on those boxes, I died. I don't think I can make it to the shelves. I think the shelves will just let me die too. What's that? Okay. I guess there's nothing else.
Okay, this is day number 295.
Well, good to know.
Tape number... I don't even know. I've lost track.
Well, now we know. I wonder what happens if I show up without the bucket.
The study this bucket,
Can I scoop it?
the less sense anything makes. The sheer euphoria I feel every time I pick it up. No matter how many times I've done it, it's always the same feeling. And the emptiness in my chest when I set it down. It doesn't
Don't touch the bucket.
make sense. There's no explanation for it.
Magic.
Still, haven't figured out
It's
why
magic.
I see the world so differently when this bucket is in my arms. Why everything feels so... What do I do with this treasure?
Move.
I can monetize it.
Move.
It's unthinkable the amounts of money people will pay for even just an hour with the bucket.
Chat.
This
Buy the bucket.
is my golden
Buy me the
ticket.
bucket.
But I have to be careful.
Send me
Because
buckets.
as soon as this gets out, there's going to be a target on my back. Even now, I don't know who might be trying to get me. What's that? Who's there?
I want buckets now.
Caporata.
Chat, send me buckets. Scary bucket monster lady. What'd I do? What? Ugh. Ugh. No. Button. 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 There's so many. And they're just turning back on. Button. I did it. Yeah. How do I get out of here? Wait, will this just send me back? Apparently so. Blech. Blech. That place hurts my brain. Blech.
How wonderful. Stanley was alone. Finally. This is great, he thought to himself. This is what I've wanted all along. I got what I wanted.
Really? Is this what Stanley wanted? Who made a mess in the office?
Not everyone is so lucky to have a bucket, but Stanley is a very lucky fellow.
He sure is.
Indeed.
Very lucky indeed.
Stanley pressed the bucket upon every little thing in the office. Nothing responded to the bucket's touch, but it did little to... Stanley clicked on literally every single door in the office, because he doesn't pick up well on cues from his environment. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
Alright, fine, you win. Door on my left. Some are both red and blue. I wonder where that could be.
Stanley, we must move on from this broom closet, simply because I have no remaining stickers.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office. Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this revelation, Stanley may have broken down into an emotional dumpster fire if not for the soothing presence of the bucket.
Thank you, Bucket, for holding me together.
Of hours, did the bucket's warmth and guiding light pierce the dark clouds of confusion and chaos. It would be with him always.
Always.
The bucket would, and he knew it. The two of them were inseparable. At this point, Stanley was so absorbed in the tender spiritual connection he shared with the bucket that he didn't notice the keypad behind the boss's desk. Nor in his bliss of simply being near the bucket did he have any notion that the PIN number for the keypad was 2845. But Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along?
Sheer luck.
Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation.
Logical. Here we go. Wow, it broke.
Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read, Mind Control Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley and the bucket would both meet a violent death.
Okay. Wouldn't be the first one.
The door behind them was not shut. Stanley and the bucket still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track. At this point, Stanley and the bucket were knowingly walking forward into a very painful death for each of them.
Right, bucket? You ready? Yeet. Woo! Yeah! Woo! I lived. Secrets.
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley and the bucket inched closer to their demise, Stanley reflected on how meaningless the bucket's warmth and comfort had turned out to be. To be sure, it puts the mind and the soul at ease to embrace the bucket, but what use is a sense of ease when you're about to be crushed to death? This is what Stanley thought to himself, and he sort of kicked himself for wasting so much time carrying a bucket everywhere.
I'll be fine. Bye. We're good.
Farewell, Stanley, cried the narrator, as Stanley and the bucket were led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant,
the bucket's
life came to an end, as it was crushed violently to death.
But I was okay. We escaped the hate.
It was a shame, the death of such a magnificent bucket.
We escaped
It's
fate.
true that all buckets are radiant in their own way, but this one stood above the rest. It was a glorious bucket to behold.
It was. So tragic. The bucket welcomes you to the grand exhibit. You're standing at the precipice of knowledge. Much like a bucket itself, the human mind is frequently empty within. A cavernous void. But through use of the exhibit in front of you, the mind becomes full and enriched and substantiated. Knowledge of the bucket and its history is the only true knowledge we really have. Will you take what you learn here out with you into the world? Probably not. Will you accept with an open mind that may be challenging about... Will you accept with an open mind what may be challenging about the information in this exhibit? Will you change the lives of yourself and your loved ones as a result of this exhibit? Or will you turn a blind eye and continue to live as you were in ignorance and darkness? Yay, darkness! Ciao.
Can you see how arrogant it was for Stanley to take a bucket like this and to claim it for his own? Can you see the hubris that blinded him? Can you see that the bucket is far more noble than Stanley will ever be in his short life?
And? Gotta get that bucket. Bucket! Bucket, come back! Art. 25 buckets. A photograph of 25 buckets, the greatest number of buckets ever captured on camera. The photographer experienced catatonic shock for several weeks as a result of the euphoria from exposure to this many buckets at once. I can tell. It's absolutely awe-inspiring. Look at all those buckets. Beautiful. Wooden bucket. Inferno bucket. A replica of the Inferno bucket, which in the medieval era was so powerfully alluring that it drove dozens of nations to war with one another for control of it. Billions died, and yet in spite of it all, the simple fact remains, no one can control a bucket. I want the bucket. Wow, Da Vinci's bucket. A bucket with two handles. This bucket is depicted as having two handles. Such a design has never been created in real life, having been deemed too dangerous and recklessly experimental. Every year, dozens are put to death just for attempting it. Wild. Wow. I want a bucket with two handles. To heck with the dangers. Chat, send me a bucket with two handles. Ooh, distress bucket analogy. The stress bucket, presented without commentary. Worry, negative forecasting, negative thinking, lack of reassurance, vulnerability, and equals size and strength of the bucket. Coping strategies equal holes. Rest and relaxation, doing something you enjoy, rest and relaxation. Stress equals the level of water in the bucket. So deep, so mean. Oh, a chair. Ancient bucket. So primal, so raw. Cave drawing. While we know that buckets predate the existence of mankind, we do not know by how long. This cave drawing depicts early man's discovery of the practical uses of the bucket, by which time the bucket had already likely been around for several millennia. Notice in these drawings how the bucket is allowing itself to be used, having judged humanity to be worthy of its treasures. I am humbled by this bucket. I feel little and small in the presence of such a grand bucket drawing.
No man can own a bucket, and certainly not a bucket as dazzling to behold as this one. It is man who should kneel before the bucket.
Maybe. The hanging bucket. This piece symbolizes the necessary relationship between bucket and humanity. However clear our grasp of the bucket may be, there is yet more that is always out of reach. This distance inevitably is for our own good. Oh! I got the bucket! I had faith, and the bucket deemed me worthy.
There is something we can do. Something we can do together, you and I, that will right this terrible wrong.
Ah, it's vibrating again.
Let Stanley die. Let him be crushed by the machine. Don't reset the game. Don't give him another opportunity to run off with another beautiful bucket. We can save the world's buckets from their treatment as tools and implements if only we let Stanley die together. The bucket shall take its place as ruler, as leader, as commander of a new world, a new vision.
Wah! They crushed me this time. How long have we been going? Okay, we still got time. I should have known that. I haven't even taken my thumb at M yet.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. It takes a lot of humility to carry a bucket so magnificent. Stanley checked his ego and then proceeded onward.
It's my bucket. The one bucket to rule them all.
Stanley clicked on literally every single door in the office because he doesn't pick up well on cues from his environment. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
I like how the world turns yellow.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
The beige pages.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this revelation, Stanley may have broken down into an emotional dumpster fire if not for the soothing presence of the bucket. Even now, in his darkest of hours, did the bucket's warmth and guiding light pierce the dark clouds of confusion and chaos. It
Let me have it.
him always.
Give me the drink.
And he knew it. The two of them were inseparable. At this point, Stanley was so absorbed in the tender spiritual connection he shared with the bucket that he didn't notice the keypad behind the boss's desk. Nor in his bliss of simply being near the bucket did he have any notion that the PIN number for the keypad was 2845.
Oops.
Stanley just sat around twiddling his thumbs. But Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation.
I got dizzy. Me and my bucket will solve this parable.
Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read, Mind Control Facility. The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley and the bucket both wondered to themselves.
No!
The monitors jumped to life, and Stanley nearly dropped the bucket in shock. Everyone in the office was being videotaped, monitored like guinea pigs. The bucket had never seen anything like this, and it very nearly burst into tears as Stanley cradled it gently, reassuring it that everything would be fine.
There I am. That's my office. Oh, 1, 2 people got fired. 1, 2. 2 got fired, and I don't know what's going on with that one.
Was the bucket under the mind control facility's influence as well? Had the bucket been told to do things it didn't wish to do? What kinds of things does a bucket want to do or not want to do in the first place?
No idea.
These questions raced furiously in Stanley's feeble mind. No! He screamed into the bucket. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control. Never! He squeezed the bucket tighter. His one friend in the entire world. At this point, he could trust no one except for the bucket.
Bucket. That's turn on the bottom.
The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he and the bucket would dismantle the controls for good. 2 best friends, Stanley and the bucket, up against the world. They high-fived in a really cool way, and the bucket made a sassy comment about taking down the system.
Ooh, what's that?
When at last they came to the source of the room's power, Stanley and the bucket knew it was their obligation to put an end to this horrible place and...
We did it. We saved the world from mind control.
Stanley and the bucket waited in blackness. Was it over?
I don't feel any more brain activity. Uh-oh.
Yes, they had done it. Stanley and the bucket had defeated their greatest and darkest enemy, freed themselves from the tyrannical grip of the evil mind control machine. Freedom was now mere moments away. Excitedly, the 2 of them began to discuss the kind of life they wanted to live once they stepped through this massive door. The bucket wanted to learn to roller skate. Stanley wanted to sneeze in every country on Earth. Both of them wanted to begin watching a movie, any movie, but then stop it halfway through and begin watching it in reverse from the end. True, it was a simple life they envisioned, but it was one they'd live together, with one another to lean on, to trust, to support. What? Wait. What was happening? Why had the door stopped?
Was
Stanley and the bucket not about to be freed?
No.
An unbearable silence filled the room, lingering in uncertainty. Until finally the truth hit Stanley square in the face. This building did not want the bucket to leave.
What?
Even the facility itself recognized the incredible calming presence of the bucket, needing the soothing warmth of the bucket, will go to any lengths not to part with the bucket. No. Stanley can't leave this place. Not while he has such a precious bucket in his arms. Not while this building has anything to say about it.
My bucket!
He would never again leave this very room. But at least he has the bucket. To be trapped eternally in darkness isn't really so bad, Stanley thought to himself. As long as I have my bucket with me, right? I'll be okay, won't I?
Yeah.
Stanley gulped. Very soon now, he was about to find out.
Oh no. Nuts. They sent us back. It didn't go well. Alright, take a quick nibble from my nutsack.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
No
Stanley
idea.
decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
The layout's different. They shut the door behind me.
Stanley cradled the bucket in a gentle embrace, protective yet delicate, assertive yet compassionate. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
Red and blue.
Stanley, we must move on from this broom closet, simply because I have no remaining stickers. Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office. But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fined for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then, something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. He looked down at the bucket in his arms. Am I crazy? He asked the bucket.
Just a little.
The bucket returned his gaze, but said nothing at all. And that's strange, Stanley thought. Usually the bucket is a source of guidance and wisdom for me in difficult times such as these. He held the bucket close, yet felt none of its familiar reassurance and comfort. And that's when Stanley realized, this isn't my bucket. It's just a normal, everyday bucket.
We got the bad bucket in there again.
Bucket, perhaps. How did I end up with
Are we
someone
done with the
else's
bucket?
This is all terribly wrong. Surely no good would come from this. Who knows what sorts of bizarre hallucinations Stanley might experience without the psychologically grounding presence of his bucket. And indeed, now he noticed that the rooms were repeating, which was, of course, very odd. And now he felt himself floating off the ground. Oh, gracious.
No, goodness!
Without
No!
my bucket, I've gone truly mad. Where is it? I must find it. Far off in the distance now, he heard it, calling to him.
Stanley! Stanley, it's me, the bucket.
Could it truly be? He rushed forward from room to room, passing by one bucket after the next. None of them were his. None of them were his special bucket.
Come to me, Stanley.
I'm trying.
He had to find the bucket. He had to return to his old friend. It was the only way to truly restore his sanity. And then suddenly, he froze dead in his tracks. He knew where the voice of the bucket had been coming from. The real bucket was inside of him all along. It was incredibly painful. Stanley doubled over in agony. and Blacktown.
What?
This is the story of a woman named Mariella. Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, picked up her bucket of comfort and security, and walked to her place of work.
I think we've done everything I can with buckets.
Her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town, talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. Right away, she knew what the problem was. This man had no bucket. Of course he'd gone mad, ranting and raving about a narrator describing all of his actions and how everything is predetermined and free will is an illusion and it's all just a video game. It could all have been prevented if only he'd taken his bucket with him.
If only.
Perhaps he didn't even realize he'd forgotten his bucket at home in the first place. How cruel the world can be, Mariella thought. And she
I didn't forget it. It was stolen from me.
But of course, she had no time for this. There were a myriad of confusing problems she would soon have to confront at work, for which her bucket would provide absolute guidance and total clarity on everything. Heck yes, she thought to herself, my life kicks ass. And she backflipped all the way to work.
I can't backflip. She's cooler than me.
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room to check on his co-workers. He never functioned well by himself and constantly needed support and guidance from others, so the thought of total solitude was terrifying to him.
Stop snitching on me!
Stanley clicked on literally every single door in the office because he doesn't pick up well on cues from his environment. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. It was okay.
What the? Do you not like the employee lounge? Well, while I'm in the employee lounge, I gotta take my feminine.
Yes, really worth it being here in the room.
Yes, I have to take my
so
feminines.
utterly captivating that even though all your co-workers have mysteriously vanished, here you sit looking at these chairs and some paintings.
I'm
Really
taking my
worth it.
feminine.
At this point, Stanley's obsession with this room bordered on creepy and reflected poorly on his overall personality.
Now you're just being rude.
But this is why everyone left.
Rude.
But at last, he'd had enough of the amazing room and took the first open door on his left to get back to business.
This is why I ignore you so much.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Stanley had now gotten himself so far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun. So far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun. So far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun. So far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun. So far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun. So far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun. So far off the beaten. You didn't think I was actually just a recording, did you? What a silly and trite explanation that would be. All the back and forth between you and me, all the absurd adventures we've been through, and it all turns out
right?
just a tape recording? It was all just in Stanley's head. I bet that's the kind of twist you think is revelatory. I bet each and every time you watch a movie where it turns out all to be in the main character's imagination, you must absolutely bolt off the couch in pure shock at the phenomenal and intricate storytelling. It must be so simple to be you. Life being an
I'm very
unending
simple.
waterfall of surprises and delights. How much more exciting you must find the world than the rest of us do. Now I've become sad. Look what you've done to me. This is all your fault.
Whoa.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. Stanley went around touching every little thing in the office, but it didn't make a single difference, nor did it advance the story in any way.
Stanley's bucket. The only co-worker he would ever truly need.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest, and this was not the correct way to the meeting room. But Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No,
said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Good,
said the bucket.
Now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do.
Stanley did not question why or how this bucket was speaking to him. It should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley
it should, but I'm okay.
This obvious fact.
No, I don't think at all.
That the bucket had spoken to him, and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket asked.
I must obey the bucket. Obey the bucket.
In here,
said the bucket.
Go into this dark room over here.
Stanley once again obeyed blindly.
Can do, bucket.
Now pick up the phone,
said the bucket.
Pick up the phone and it will take us back home, where we can go about life together.
This is the sad story of a man named Stanley and his bucket. Once upon a time, I gave Stanley a bucket because I thought he was lonely and could use a friend. And then, very distressingly, he began to believe the bucket could speak to him.
Bucket. Hello, Stanley. It's me, your bucket. Press right to take me to work with you.
The Stanley Parable Reassurance Bucket was merely meant to provide the comforting glow of companionship. It doesn't literally talk and give you orders. Whatever Stanley is hearing the bucket say to him is just in his head.
What? No. I'm normal crazy. They blocked it. Bucket.
Lately, I've been concerned about him. Wouldn't you be concerned as well?
To see him delusional like this, obsessing over an inanimate metal object? I want to say something to him, but I don't know how I can convince him. I don't know if he'll listen to me.
Probably. Back to work.
Oh, I'll try anyway. Stanley, can you hear me? Listen to me. It's just a bucket. It can't think, it can't talk. All it will ever truly do for you is effectively transfer a liquid from one location to a different location. That's it.
Nice.
It doesn't do anything else.
But it's so important. And you put my name on it. Yeah, let's not listen to the loud man. Let's go home.
You see, he's not listening. He's still taking orders from the bucket. You know, once upon a time, it was me he took orders from. Me he trusted and listened to. Now all he cares
I haven't
about
followed
is
your
this
plot
awful
once
bucket,
yet.
This stupid hunk of metal.
Can do, bucket.
It's sad. I suppose he doesn't need me anymore. From now on, he's just going to cling to this bucket, this cold, empty bucket, this sort of shiny bucket. Well, I'll give it this. The bucket does have a nice shine to it.
Mm-hmm. It's a beautiful bucket. You believe I'm real, don't you, Stanley? I do.
Yes, I suppose on closer inspection that it doesn't quite look like your average hardware store bucket. It's just a little more, what am I trying to say? Sturdier, more capable of transporting liquid. Like it would be better at moving an amount of water from one room to another.
Yeah. Press up to relive the same day with me over and over. Let's go, Bucket. Let's live our life in joy and in peace.
Oh my God, what am I saying? Better at carrying water from room to room. It's a bucket. It's literally just a bucket. Why do I feel some need to point out the ways in which it's so much more than just a regular bucket?
Because it is so much more than a regular bucket. It's my friend. Gotta work, come home. Gotta work, come home. Gotta work, come home.
Oh, no. I'm having feelings for the bucket. No. What's going on? Why do I want to be with the bucket? Hear what the bucket has to say. Do anything it asks. What's wrong with me? I don't understand. Perhaps if I had the bucket, this would be less confusing. Yes, the bucket could tell me what to do in this troublesome situation.
Hey there, Bucket. Looking heck cute. Look at our cute bucket.
Stanley, give me the bucket.
No, it's my bucket.
Give me the
No,
bucket, Stanley.
no, it's
I
mine.
need it. Give it
No,
to me
it's
now.
mine.
Give it, or I'll...
Is it okay? Is it safe? The bucket told me to close my eyes.
Just a step through this door, Stanley thought to himself. That's all I need. If I can make it through this door, I can make it through them all.
All of the doors.
Stanley clicked on literally every single door in the office because he doesn't pick up well on cues from his environment.
I gotta check the doors.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well.
I sure
Perhaps he wanted
did.
to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
A little bit.
It was okay.
No.
But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. And so he detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track.
I totally did.
But Stanley didn't want to go back to the office. He wanted to wander about and get even further off track. So now in order to get back, he needed to go, from here, it's, left. Oh, no. No, it's to the right. My mistake.
Uh-oh.
No, not the right. Why would I have ever said it was to the right? What was I thinking? It's clearly... Oh, dear, would you hold on for a minute, please?
Yeah.
Let's see. We went down right, left, down, left, right. Yep. Okay, yes. I've got it now. This story is absolutely, definitely this way.
Neat. Ooh, the mind control room.
No. This isn't right at all. You're not supposed to be here yet. This is all a spoiler. Quick, Stanley, close your eyes. Okay. We just have to get back to, oh, who am I kidding? It's all rubbish now. The whole story
Can I look then?
unusable. How about, rather than waste my time trying to salvage this nonsense, we'll just restart the game from the beginning. And this time, suppose we don't wander so far off track, Okay.
It's like I've been able to do that yet.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Huh. I don't have access to the window anymore. They don't want me to escape. Wait a minute. Where's the bucket?
When Stanley... Wait, what? No, I restarted. I swear, I definitely restarted the game.
Uh-oh.
Completely
We
fresh.
broke it.
Everything should be...
We broke it.
Something changed. Stanley, did you change anything when we were back in that room with all the monitors? Did you...
No, I closed my eyes.
Somewhere, or... Hold on.
No.
Why am I asking you? I'm the one who wrote the story.
Yeah.
Right here just a minute ago. I know for sure that it's here somewhere. Okay, then. It's an adventure. Come, Stanley. Let's find the story.
You're lying. There is no story. Bucket.
I'll say it. This is the worst adventure I've ever been on. I can promise you there definitely was a story here before. Do we need to restart the game again?
Well, I find it unlikely that we'll ever progress by starting over and over again, but it's got to be better than this. Okay, let's give it a shot. Why not?
What?
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
I can't jump out the window, so I don't think we're back. I also can't interact with the doors anymore. I'm a little worried. Also, the bucket's gone.
Okay, yep, it's worse. I might be
Uh-oh,
remembering this
we broke
wrong.
the doors.
It's possible the story is back where we just came from. Why don't we go back the other direction and see if we missed anything?
Hmm?
Aha! I knew we'd missed something. The story.
Yay, we broke.
Here it comes. No, wait. Never mind. Not the story. Okay, let's head back the other way and retrace our steps.
Okay.
Now this... Well, I'll be honest. I don't recognize this place at all. Is this the story? I don't think so. I can't quite recall, but I believe my story took place in an office building. Is that correct?
Yes.
Do you remember, Stanley? Well, do you know what? Since I've completely forgotten what we were supposed to be doing, how about this? You win! Congratulations! I know you put in a lot of hard work, and it really paid off, so good job. Oh, no. No, I don't feel right about this at all.
You can't just take the victory.
You didn't put in any actual work for that win. Some people win fair and square, and this was not one of those situations.
No, I cheated fair and square.
I'm getting weirded out by whatever this place is. I don't care what might happen this time. I have to restart.
Okay.
All right, I've got a solution. This time, to make sure we don't get lost, I've employed the help of the Stanley Parable Adventure Line. Just follow the line. How simple is that?
You've seen me try to follow directions. You think he'll yell at me if I don't follow the adventure line?
No, I'm down. We're leaving it up to the line from now on.
Oh. Okay. We're on an adventure.
You see? The line knows where the story is. It's
Sure,
over in
buddy.
this direction. Onward, Stanley, to destiny. Though, here's a thought. Wouldn't wherever we end up be our destination, even if there's no story there? Or to put it another way, is the story of no destination still a story?
It
Simply
is.
by the act of moving forward, are we implying a journey such that a destination is inevitably conjured into being via the very manifestation of the nature of life itself? Okay, Stanley,
Not necessarily.
this train of thought for a minute. Just stick with me.
Okay, but that's not necessarily true, because deciding not to do anything is in fact a decision in of itself.
Experience of that existence, right? Okay. Now, if my experience of your existence rests inside of your subjective experience of this office, is this office, in fact, the skeleton of my own relative experiential mental subjective construct? Whoa. Hang on. That got a bit weird back there. Well, I'd like to apologize.
Can I buy pot from you?
Not sure where I was going with all that. You know what? I think what we need right now is a bit of music to lighten the mood.
I'm glad to see the wine is just as off the walls as I am. I am so relieved. Ooh, financial records, corporate imbalances, monthly ledgers.
Wait, cut the music. Go back and look at that fern. Stanley, this fern will be very important later in the story. Make sure you study it closely and remember it carefully. You won't want to miss anything.
Take notes, chat. This fern is going to be very important. Probably the most important plant we've ever seen.
Wait, what? We're back at the office? No. Line, you do know we're looking for the Stanley Parable, right? The story? Is any of this ringing a bell?
Ping.
Still missing the doors. Did we make a mistake following the line? Perhaps we could have found the story on our own.
We did it!
No, not again. Line, how could you have done this to us? And after we trusted you, after everything we've been through, you... Well, I can't take this anymore. To hell with it. Restart.
What?
Stanley,
Ah!
I say forget the adventure line. What's it ever done for us? We're intelligent people, right? Why
No.
can't we make up our own story? Something exciting.
Because I'm insane.
Daring, mysterious. Ooh, this all sounds perfectly doable. Why don't we simply start wandering in, well, I don't know. How about this direction?
Okay.
Now, yes, this is exciting. Just me and Stanley forging a new path, a new story. Well, it could be anything. What do you want our story to be? Go wild. Use your imagination.
I want an
Whatever it might
adventure
be,
line.
Stanley, I'm ready for it.
I want to follow the adventure line.
Oh, no, not you again.
Hey!
Stanley, I'd also like to veto the line from having any role in our awesome new story. No
Aw.
lines or monitor rooms. Just don't acknowledge it, and we should be fine.
I'm sorry, Vine. They told me I need to ignore you. The line. Narrator, the line had escaped. It's in the roof.
Ah, a choice. We get to make a decision. From here, the story is in our control. How important we mustn't squander the opportunity. In fact, I believe I need a minute to think here. Just walk in circles for a minute. Okay, so I know that each door has to lead somewhere, which means that somewhere, the place where we're trying to go, there must be a reverse door that leads here. And that in turn means that our destination corresponds with the counter-inverted reverse door's origin. So starting from the right, let us ask, will taking the right door lead us to where we're going? And since the
Ask
answer
the
is clear
door.
yes, then by all accounts, the door on the right is the correct one. Another victory for logic. Come, Stanley, our destiny awaits. Oh, hold up, what's this? The confusion ending. You're telling me that's what this is? It's all one giant ending? And we're supposed to restart the game, what, eight times?
What time are we on now?
That's really how all this goes? It's all determined? So now, according to the schedule, I restart again. Then what? Am I just supposed to forget? Well, what if I don't want to forget? My mind goes blank simply because it's written here on this thing, wall. Well, who consulted me? Why do I get to decide? Why don't I get a say in all of this? Is it really? No, it can't be. I don't want it to be. I don't want the game to keep restarting. I don't want to forget what's going on. I don't
There's
want
a
to be trapped
bookstore.
like this. I won't restart the game. I won't do it. I won't do it. I won't do it.
Okay, they left us a chair.
And the timer
Whoa!
stopped? Does that mean, did we do it? Did we break the cycle? The, whatever it is that made this schedule? How would we even know? Will someone
Did you
come to
try
us?
restarting?
Will something happen? So, okay. I guess now we just wait. You know, I suppose in some way that this is a kind of story, wouldn't you agree? I'm not quite sure if we're in the destination or the journey, though they're always saying that life is about the journey and not the destination. So I hope
Life is
that's
a
where we
highway,
are right
and I would like
now.
to ride it
We'll find
all
out, won't
night
we?
long.
Eventually. Well, in the meantime, if you...
What? I think we escaped that story. We got a little time. Let's keep wandering around.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
The bucket's back.
Stanley went around touching every little thing in the office, but it didn't make a single difference, nor did it advance the story in any way. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
I still can't find the red or blue one.
Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track. There was nothing here. No choice to make, no path to follow, just an empty broom closet. No reason to still be here.
This isn't the first time I've been in a closet.
It was baffling that Stanley was still just sitting in the broom closet.
I'm having a
He wasn't even
snack.
doing anything. At least if there was something to interact with, he'd be justified in some way. As it is, he's literally just standing there doing sweet FA.
He said swears.
Are you really still in the broom closet? Standing around doing nothing? Why? Please offer me
It's
some
not even my
explanation
record.
here. I'm genuinely confused.
This isn't even the record for longest time spent in the closet.
You do realize there's no choice or anything in here, right? If I'd said Stanley walked past the broom closet, at least you would have had a reason for exploring it to find out. But it didn't even occur to me because literally this closet is of absolutely no significance to the story whatsoever.
And yet here we are. And yet here we are.
Maybe to you this is somehow its own branching path. Maybe when you go talk about this with your friend, you'll say,
Oh, did you get the broom closet ending? The broom closet ending was my favourite.
I hope your friends find this concerning.
Chad, are you concerned?
Stanley was fat and ugly and really stupid. He probably only got the job because of a family connection. That's how stupid he is. That or with drug money. Also, Stanley is addicted to drugs and hookers.
Wait, that's where the line comes from? What kind of...
Well, I've come to a very definite conclusion about what's going on right now. You're dead. You got to this broom closet, explored it a bit, and were just about to leave because there's nothing here, when a physical malady of some sort shut down your central nervous system and you collapsed in front of your screen. Well, in a situation like this, the responsible thing is to alert someone nearby so as to ensure that your body is taken care of before it begins to decompose.
I'm scared.
Hello? Anyone who happens to be nearby? The person at this computer is dead. They fallen prey to any number of your countless human physiological vulnerabilities. It's indicative of the long-term sustainability of your species. Please remove their corpse from the area and instruct another human to take their place, making sure they understand basic first-person video game mechanics and filling them in on the history of narrative tropes in video gaming, so that the irony and insightful commentary of this game is not lost on them. All right, when you've done that, just step out into the hallway.
He's always so mad at me. I didn't know that there'd be a broom closet ending. Apparently, I died.
Ah, second player. It's good to have you on board. I guarantee you can't do any worse than the person who came before you. You too? Unbelievable. I'm at the mercy of an entire species of invalids. Perhaps there's a monkey nearby you can hand the controls to. A fish? Fungus? Look, you can hammer out the details. I'm not particularly picky. I'll just be waiting for when you're ready to pick up the story again.
I'm much trouble.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
I don't have the bucket anymore, so maybe I can look down here?
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss. Admitting he had left his post during work hours, he might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished. His boss would think he was crazy.
I am crazy.
Something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy.
I am.
All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all. None of it made any logical sense.
Did it have
Stanley
to?
pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down?
My feet! Where'd they go?
Automatically behind him wherever he went. And for that matter,
Automatic
these rooms were
doors?
starting to look pretty familiar. Were they
Are
simply
they?
repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming!
Yay!
This is all a dream. Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer.
Oh, look, an exit.
explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all.
He's totally
To himself,
crazy.
I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have
You
to go
suppose
back to
wrong.
my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy
Buttons.
this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground.
Help! Help, I'm afraid of
He imagined
heights!
himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid?
There.
And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head
There
dictating
are
everything
voices
that I'm
in my
doing?
head,
Now the
saying
voice
things
was
that
describing
should be
itself being
said.
considered by Stanley,
And
who
if
found
you
it
hear
particularly
them, this
strange.
is what they say.
I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley.
But what happened to the
He
stars?
was certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How
I know,
else would
right?
the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could
Surely.
just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream.
Oh, yeah?
So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he
Never.
said to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons.
Stanley,
Please.
Stanley.
It's all I want.
we've been
I
trying
want
to
my
reach you
apartment
about your car's
and my wife
extended warranty.
And my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal.
I don't know about that last part.
Everything will be fine. I am okay.
Son of a...
Stanley began screaming. Please, someone, wake me up. My name
Censored,
is Stanley.
censored,
I have a boss.
censored,
I have an office.
censored.
I am real. Please,
Censored.
just someone tell me I am real.
Statements
I must
redacted.
Be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice?
Statements
Who am
redacted.
I?
Beep, beep,
And
beep.
everything went black.
Ah! Oh, too many bad words.
This is
I
the
got
story
canceled.
of a woman named Mariella.
Oh no.
Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments, she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy. This much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought
it's because I didn't have a bucket, huh?
Was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better.
The DLC?
Then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled.
I have no idea how to get to it.
Very important people whose impressions
I've been trying
of her
to
would affect her career,
invade it.
and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
She just left me dead on the floor. I'm pretty sure that's probably a crime, right? Oh. Maybe. I'll look into it. I hear it's pretty good. Oh, it's only illegal in Cali?
How long was I sitting there? Stanley wondered to himself. Minutes? Days? Centuries? Did something crucial happen while my senses were turned? He made a note to be more careful with time from now on. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
I cannot find this room. Someplace both red and blue.
No, not again. I won't be part of this. I'm not going to encourage you. I'm not going to say anything at all. I'm just going to be patient and wait for you to finish whatever it is you enjoy doing so much in this room. Please take your time.
All right, have a good day.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Now, money in the morning, money in the evening, money for breakfast, more money crisp. Yum! The most important meal of the day.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this. What dark secret was being held from him?
What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And Stanley was in such a rush to get through the story as quickly as possible, he didn't even have a single minute to just let the narrator talk. That kind of anxiety isn't healthy, so he relaxed for a few moments with some calming New Age music.
I keep getting in trouble.
Feeling soothed and rejuvenated, Stanley calmly walked forward into the opened passageway. Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility. Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death.
Yay!
The door behind him was not shut. Stanley still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track. At this point, Stanley was making a conscious, concerted effort to walk forward and willingly confront his death.
Hi, Death! Whoa! So what happens now that there's no bucket to save me?
Stanley was inched closer and closer to his demise. He reflected that his life had been of no consequence whatsoever. Stanley can't see the bigger picture. He doesn't know the real story, trapped forever in his narrow vision of what this world is. Perhaps his death was of no great loss, like plucking the eyeballs from a blind man. And so he signed and willingly accepted this violent end to his brief and shallow life. Farewell, Stanley.
Bye, narrator. Nice chatting with you. Huh.
Farewell, Stanley, cried the narrator, as Stanley was led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, Stanley was obliterated as the machine crushed every bone in his body, killing him instantly.
Wow.
And yet it would be just a few minutes before Stanley would restart the game, back in his office, as alive as ever. What exactly did the narrator think he was going to accomplish? When every path you can walk has been created for you long in advance, death becomes meaningless, making life the same. Do you see now? Do you see that Stanley was already dead from the moment he hit start?
Quick! Let's play, Doom. Nature paintings. A maze. Office layout. Quarter. The pacing of this opening section was important to get right. This quarter has been moved and altered to make sure the player reaches the two doors in a good time. Office layout. This blueprint shows the office from the beginning of the game. The path from Stanley's office to the two doors was the first part of the game that was built. Sections have been added and altered through development, though the core layout remains almost identical to the first iteration. It really does. The two doors. The set of the two doors was the very first concrete piece of the Stanley Parable design. Once this room was created, the rest of the game emerged as an extension of it, an exploration of the contradiction this room posed. The office. The button sounds. A selection of the sounds used throughout the game when buttons are pressed. Each sound is a mix of keyboard strokes and a synthesized tone. Ooh, credits. Memes. Office computers. File cabinets. The clock. Ooh, the boss's office. Screens from the development of the boss's office. Spooky. The lounge. Ooh, underground. An early version of the underground portion of the game. Narration outtakes. Blah. Kevin Brighton, the voice of the narrator, recorded dialogue for the entire game roughly 3 separate times over the 2 years of development. These are clips from early takes that were not used in the final game.
When Stanley came to the lift, he traveled upward to the power source at the top of the facility to end this injustice forever.
See how it's impossible for the player to do anything in this room? Perfect example of poor level design. Textbook
Then he
mistake.
pushed the number 4.
It's the kind of thing you pick up on intuitively if you have even the most fundamental understanding of good and bad game design. But of course, you being you, you'll probably spend the next hour trying to solve it. Here, I'm just going to make this easy on you. Still nothing? I don't know. Well, in that case, I'll tell you what. You win. Congratulations. You did it. I know you put in a lot of hard work, and it really paid off, so good job. What do we do now? I don't... Stanley, where are you? Where am I? I'm trying to figure out, but I can't... Stanley, who am I?
You're Jean Valjean. Freedom ending. This was the very first incarnation of the freedom ending in the game's alpha. I didn't escape. The bucket wouldn't let me. One of the deaths from an early version of the countdown ending. Freedom ending. This is the freedom ending as it existed in beta. Monitor room elevator. For a time, the elevator in the monitor room could go up or down, with freedom above and countdown below. We abandoned this when players found it too difficult to remember what was up and what was down, and placed the two endings together instead. Countdown room. Early version of the countdown room. Zending. A screenshot depicts an early version of the ending known as the Zending, which was eventually cut and merged with other parts of the game. Zending model. The Zending went through many iterations. This room represents the 4th version of the ending, and we went through it. We went though it was completed, but decided to abandon and change it again shortly before launch. Sending levers. These levers were originally part of the sending. The player would pull a lever and the narrator would describe what color they had pulled. Escape menu. For a long time we had an ending that only ended when the player restarted from the escape menu. Unfortunately, very few players realized this was what they were supposed to do, which was frustrating for everyone. Spooky. Trailers. We ran 4 major teaser trailers over the course of the game's development, each meant to convey something about the spirit of the game. This is the first one, released in May 2012. It features a series of broken rooms and the voice of the narrator informing viewers that he is repairing a new version of the Stanley parable. Neat. One option. Two options. Neat. A meeting room. The apartment timer. In a previous version of the choice leading to the apartment ending, the timer would give you 15 seconds to pick up the phone. Now picking up the phone would lead to a different ending. Like that time I unplugged it? The cargo lift. The cargo lift was always intended to offer the choice of staying on or jumping to a different path. However, after this early version, we decided we also wanted the option of the player falling to their death. Cargo lift. The second version is functionally the same as what's in the final game, but we wanted to look more like a place where cargo was actually stored. The office. The lounge. An early version of the lounge. Early in development, we designed an ending where Stanley would end up on a battlefield fighting aliens. The action game would become sentient and would wage war against the narrator. We realized shortly after starting to build it that it was far too jokey and on the nose for the tone of the game. Plus, some people interpret it as making fun of people who like shooters, which was not our intention. Neat. Maintenance room. An early version of the maintenance room. The office. From a business broker, please partner with my brain shut off. Hi, Mr. Narrator Guy. I have a question for you, sir, and it is, what is your message for today? There's a skeleton inside you. There are more skeletons in this world than humans. They're right. Narrator emails. After the second trailer we asked people to email the narrator for questions. While we had initially planned to use these further promotional materials, we never found the perfect use for them. Here are a selection of those emails. Game design mockup. This is the level that William, the level designer, sent Davey, the writer, as a kind of audition piece. The strength of this level got William hired to design the full game. Though much of the environment has changed, the basic layout of this mock-out is still in the game. Neat. Stanley's office. From left to right, the evolution of Stanley's office over time. The first was created in November 2011, the second, March 2012, and the third in February 2013. Neat.
Oh, look at these two. How they wish to destroy one another. How they wish to control one another. How they both wish to be free.
What? Time to turn the lights off.
Can you see? Can you see how much they need one another?
No, you turned off the lights.
Perhaps not. Sometimes these things cannot be seen. But listen to me. You can still save these two. You can stop the program before they both fail. Turn off your PlayStation. There's no other way to beat this game. As long as you move forward, you'll be walking someone else's path. Stop now and it'll be your only true choice. Whatever you do, choose it. Don't let time choose for you. Don't let...
Ow! I didn't want to interrupt her. Alright, well, this seems as good a spot as any, so I'd like to take a moment to say thank you to everybody who stopped by to watch the show, those of you watching live, and those of you watching at a later time. We really appreciate the support, and if you enjoyed the content so far, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. It really helps me out, gives me a better understanding of the type of content you guys enjoy. If you have a suggestion for a future stream, be sure to leave in the comments. I check that as often as possible. And if you missed the show live and want to catch it next time, be sure to hit the notification bell to be up to date on that. Also, thank you to everyone who's already liked, shared, and subscribed. Your support goes a long way to help building the community and is incredibly humbling. So, thank you. And, yeah, aside from that, I'd like to see you all in the next one. And until then, bye-bye. Bye, everyone.